Hey, what up, Rob? It's Hoppy Rogers, just checking in with everybody. I used to be the horror guy, the crazy story guy, all that shit. Still crazy shit happens to me. I had a bear in a cave that I had to deal with, and I almost got crushed by a tree. The barber teared off when we was logging it a couple of weeks ago. I'm talking like I was laying on the ground, and it went the wrong way and was probably about 3 foot from me when I rolled out the way, so I didn't get crushed or nothing. But I'm the crypto guy now. That's all I spend my whole damn day doing cryptocurrency. I generally fuck with Bitcoin and VeChain. That's my top two. Y'all already know that. But look, the Bitcoin conference just went on in Miami. I'm heading back to Kentucky. Jack Mallers is about to blow y'all's fucking mind. Look him up. He's running the Lightning Network and the Zap wallet. But really what I want to get into is like everybody, Elon's a fucking idiot. Please don't listen to him. But the reason that the price went down is there was look, there's no SEC regulation over crypto. You can do manipulation that you can't do with stocks with crypto, and it's legal because it's property, not security. But look, the number 4 holder, which we don't know who he is, in Bitcoin in the world, sold like 9,000 Bitcoin at once. And then everybody, and Elon and everybody, and it just piled on, and it made a huge sell-off, right? So when you sell it once, like people don't understand the price of Bitcoin and these cryptos. The prices are affected by the buy and sell wall. So it's purely supply and demand, right? So when you sell 9,000 Bitcoin, which was 50,000 a piece, do the math on that, at once, the price is crashing. So what he did is he sold a big shit ton at once, right? 9,000, which ended up being like $475 million. And then he bought it back in small increments, right? So then he ended up with 9,900 Bitcoin, and he bought it back for 350. So he 60, 70, I don't know the numbers right now, but basically he got an extra 900 Bitcoin and also pocketed $110 million off the deal. So this is what's going on right now. The institutions are coming in, they're doing this shit, but they can't do it forever because there's a limited supply of Bitcoin, and the people that are buying it, people like me, are not selling. So eventually there's going to be a giant buy wall instead of a sell wall, and the price is going to pop. And that's coming probably around the 10th to 15th of July. But what I need you all to do is get on Binance. You need to get you a ledger. It's a cold wallet. You can also do a Trezor if that's your thing. But you need to be buying Bitcoin. It's cheap as hell. We're going to $250,000 to $288,000, and Ethereum is going to $30,000 to $40,000 by August 20th. And then you're probably going to cash out or have a different strategy come September if you're looking for immediate profit. I would advise you just to forget about it for 4 years and wait until 2025 for the next cycle, because Bitcoin's going to $1 million and Ethereum. So after Ethereum goes to $400,000, it may, I'm not so convinced on Ethereum, but it's still going to pop. I guarantee it's going to pop. It may come back down from that point. Nobody can call anything a crypto, absolutely. They say they can, they're idiots. But I'm telling you, you need to listen to Michael Saylor. You need to listen to Plan B, who is under $100 trillion on Twitter. You need to listen to Robert Breedlove. You need to listen to Jack Mallers. You need to listen, if you're fucking with VeChain, you need to listen to Salah Ahmed. He's a Muslim. He's got the best TA in the business. The easiest way to find him is get on Jimmy 2 times his Twitter. But if you want to make some quick money, wait. You need to get on Kraken, get verified for margin trading. Generally, I do not advise margin trading with leverage. Trading options. Look, if you want me to come on and get in depth on the show about all this stuff, I'm down. You got my number, you got my email, all that stuff. We ain't talked for a long time. But look, I think the best bet, hands down, in crypto is and look, I can't tell you exactly the date. This is not financial advice. But somewhere around July the 10th and 15th, everything's going to start coming. But Ethereum, oh my God, what this thing's going to do. And I own 0.008991 Ethereum. I don't fuck with it. But I will fuck with it on trading. There's a difference between investing and trading. So get on Kraken, trading, margin trading with leverage. So basically you're borrowing Kraken's money. Again, you can get wrecked on this real easy. And I don't do it day to day. But around July the 10th and 15th, if you use TradingView and Market Cipher, take notes, get Market Cipher, it costs money, but if it prints, as soon as it prints a green dot on the 4-hour chart, the 2-hour chart, and the 1-day chart at the same time, you need to get in as hard as you fucking can, because you will get rich within 3 weeks. It happens gradually, and then all of a sudden, suddenly. And I'm telling you, you watch Ethereum in July, and then you watch Bitcoin, and you watch VeChain. Happens? Give me a shout. Peace out.
You are now listening to Random Ramblings with Rob. Yay! Yeah!
Random, it's random. Random Ramblings with Rob, this is the anthem. Random, it's random. Random Ramblings with Rob, this is the anthem. Random, it's random. Random Ramblings with Rob, this is the anthem. Random, it's random. Random Ramblings with Rob. Are we hearing anything in this bitch? This is the anthem. God bless the child while he listens to some random spitting bars and stanzas, ripping mics, etc. Go against the y'all, you gotta know he Tony Danza. That's B-Rob, he the boss, MC God. Give you what you want every week with some deep dive. Revise everything you know about this podcast. We're trying to take over the world with this podcast. We're hitting your ears every week with the monsoon. We broadcasting the SoundClouds and iTunes. The Twitch screen say random, what you gonna do? The Twitch screen say random, what you gonna do? Subscribe, like, share. Listen to the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast. If you're listening right now, you're welcome.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I'm back with another edition of the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I am back with another edition of the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for coming back each and every week, or however you listen to podcasts. If you're a first-time listener, I'd like to thank you oh so much for giving my show a try. And if anybody recommended you to me, I want you to lean over and go ahead and give them a crisp high five. But if you want to be socially cautious and, you got some COVID concerns, the easy and safe way to do it is to get your social media app of choice and send them a well-crafted DM telling them thank you for recommending you to me. Speaking of social media, you can find the Random Ramblings with Rob on various social media platforms to include Twitter at 3R Show, Instagram at the 3R Show, and you can find this interview amongst many others on the YouTube channel if you search for 3R Show. For anything that I may have forgotten to mention as far as social media is concerned and ways that you can help out the show, you can go to randomrob.com. Go to randomrob.com to where you can find all manner of things pertaining to the show, to include merchandise and everything like that. And also, while you're there, there's a link for the sponsor of the show, which is Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. Go to hooksrub.com and you can get 15% off your order if you use promo code RANDOM. So yeah, get some of them Hooks, Rubs, and Spices for your everyday delicacies, to where it be mashed potatoes, vegetables, steaks. If you're vegan, I'm pretty sure you can rub Hooks, Rubs, and Spices all over it. I mean, it's vegan, right? They ain't got no pork products, animal fats in it or nothing like that. So Hooks, Rubs, and Spices is vegan. Put that shit on all your stuff. Anyway, joining me is a man that I barely knew or know. He just kind of popped up and said, hey man, I want to be on the show. I was like, all right. And it'd be what it be. I mean, that's how I kind of book things for the Random Ramblings with Rob. Mutual acquaintance with former guest Sakate, streamer on Twitch, and I was tuning in to Sakate's stream. You got an eFed going. He do simulations on WWE 2K19, I believe it is, and I was just tuning in like I normally do, and he had a commentary guest with him, which is wind up being my guest here today. We got Bryan from Botch TV, not Botched, because they didn't do it yet, but it's Botch TV, and he does his own streaming thing. He has his own federation as well, and we just chat a little bit. It's mostly him, which, if you are familiar with the show, I rather enjoy. I fire off the questions or steer the conversation in a certain direction, and they just take the ball and run with it. I rather enjoy those types of conversations that we have, our interviews. So Bryan gives us a lot of himself in this interview, and I hope you enjoy. I don't really have too much to ramble upon today because I'm doing this 20 minutes before I have to leave to work. So I hope you enjoy. There's more to come. And don't forget to hit up the sponsor, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. Go to hooksrub.com. Get you 15% off. Use the promo code RANDOM. Hey, go to randomrob.com. Check out all the things and stuff. And hit your boy up on Twitter. Hey, man, if you just want to be on the show just because you want to shoot the shit with your boy, hit me up. You have the various social media platforms that I've illustrated beforehand in an introduction. You know, Twitter, @3R Show. Instagram, @the3R Show. Hit me up. Hit me in the DMs. Slide in ever so gently. And we can talk about stuff. You know? So, without further ado, joining me on this edition of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast is Bryan of Botch TV. We're going live, but we're actually not. So.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching the one with you and Sakate the other night, and you said you just record these, so.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones that I do live is when we do the wrestling stuff.
The wrestling is trash, yeah.
See.
I definitely did check out some of your stuff on your channel. I actually subscribed to the YouTube channel, so.
Well, that is much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, it's just weird because I do these videos just because now I have the means to, because there was never always, I could never always do it. I used to use this piece of shit computer to record this podcast.
Right.
And it was just a old ass MacBook Pro that I had from like.
I have a new one.
Oh, you got the newer one?
Yeah, I had to get one when I was in college a couple years ago because I was in music recording, and that's what they worked on was MacBooks and iMacs and shit like that. So we had to familiarize ourselves with the software and with Apple and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hated Apple all my entire life until I got a Mac, and then I got an iPhone, and then I became into the ecosystem. And yeah, right here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's it's all about reliability to me. It's just
right.
I've had I love electronics. So I've had all manner of phones under the sun and everything. And out of all the ones I've ever owned, this is the one that has never given me any issues.
Yeah. I was pro Android. I was all Android, like LG phones, Samsung, whatever. And Samsung makes great phones.
Yeah.
But the issue that I had was with my LG G4, it kept freezing, and I had so many other issues with it. And then, once I transitioned over to getting an iPhone, I think it was iPhone 8 Plus, I think was my first iPhone.
Yeah.
And when I got that, I was like, and then I became engraved in the ecosystem. Then I realized, you can answer calls on your Mac, and you could do all this. You could have the Notes app and then access the notes on the Mac. And so I could use that for college and study for tests. And I realized how much this would help me in college. So then I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. And then I got an Apple Watch, and then the rest is history there. So yeah, I don't have it on me right now. It's like right there, but yeah.
I don't know. I think I got in around the 5 or 6.
It's probably a good 2013, 2012.
Yeah, and it was because they turned me. I think they put something in your water or something after you get the first product or whatnot. You put it on your nightstand and you go to sleep. Then they start moving around the house and shit. They start infecting all your items.
Right. It's one of those things. Like I tell people like all the time that they don't like Apple or whatever, and I always say like once you try one and you start to experiment with it and you see what it can do and you become engraved in the ecosystem, it's kind of hard to get away from it. Like, I still have a Windows laptop that I record. It's a gaming laptop that I spent way too much money on. But I use it to record, I use it to edit, and then for my Mac, I barely touch it now because I just graduated college, so I don't really use it. But the thing is, with my gaming laptop, it's 12 pounds. Like, this computer is heavy as hell. So, to have something as light as a Mac to take around that I can do all the same things with pretty much. I have the same video editing software that I use on my PC on here. I have Discord and everything else and OBS and all that shit on there. So, that's all I need.
Yeah.
And I can easily take it.
Yeah. What I'm using right now is my Windows PC that I got built and everything. And that was just like a whole experience for me, because since 2011 or 12, when I got this MacBook Pro, that has been my only computing device.
Damn.
The only thing I've ever had, all the way up until beginning of this year when I got this computer.
Like, did you get it custom built and everything, or?
Yeah, well, I just went to the website and be like, all right, I want this one, I want this one, I want this.
Oh, you chose the parts that you wanted in it, and then
but
that's kind of what I did with my laptop.
Yeah, I didn't physically build it, but if we ever get some goddamn graphics cards flying around this bitch, I'm gonna take all the old parts that I took out of here, because I upgraded a whole bunch of shit. Yeah. And all the parts that I took out, I want to take those and make another computer out of it.
There you go. I mean, I think with this year, with the pandemic and stuff still going on, I think within the next year or two, people will start getting their hands on things that they weren't able to. Because people are going back to work, manufacturing and stuff and everything else, and vaccines coming up, vaccines being here and everything else. I think we're starting to get towards the tail end of it rather than where we were a year ago. So,
did you get dosed up? Do you believe in that, or what's going on?
I got the vaccine. I did get the vaccine. However, I am a firmer believer that the state, whatever state you live in, like here in New York, they're trying to basically bribe people to get it.
Yeah.
And they're
you want a bus pass? You want a train pass? Come on, baby.
One of the things was our governor was like, here, we'll give you a lottery ticket, and the chances of you winning are 1 in 9. And I'm like, so you're going to try and bribe people to get a vaccine that they may not want to get just because they may not want to get it. But you're that desperate to get people to get the vaccine that you're just going to force it upon people. And to me, it's you're given right. Like, you have every right to refuse, medical treatment. That's it's like when you get in a car accident and like the police come or whatever, and they're like, do you want to go to the hospital? If you don't have any life-threatening injuries or anything that they, would deem to be anything, and you don't want to go to the hospital, you have every right to refuse that. So that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Refusing a vaccine. So I got it. I dealt with the side effects, and it's not that I necessarily feel safer. I just did it just to do it, just because I knew it was going to get to this point where they're like, oh, you can only go to this if you get this. So it's like, okay, fine. Let me bite the bullet and just get it. And, I got my Excelsior Pass. It's this thing that they scan on your phone to check your vaccination status. So if concerts start up again and they start doing that, I'll have my pass and I'll be ready to go. So I won't have to carry my vaccination card around with me.
Is that like a local regional thing or whatever? Because I never heard of that until just now.
I believe certain states are going to do it.
Okay.
But our state, New York State, has done that, and you do it through an app. You basically enter what county in New York you got it in, and then when you got your dose, when you got your last dose, your birth date, your name, like simple shit, and then they give you your pass, and that's just so that you don't have to. I have one of the little lanyard things with a plastic wrap for my card, so it's waterproof, so I can carry my card around with me. But everybody's got these little devices in their pockets where they have tickets on Ticketmaster and other things. So why not create something that makes it a lot easier so that people don't have to do that, you know?
Yeah, because I keep mine in the armrest of my truck.
And, you know, if I got to wear a mask, and actually they lifted some of the mask mandates for fully vaccinated people. I know in like Walmart and other places.
Of course they did in Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, and Walmart and Target and some other places where you don't have to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated, you know.
Yeah.
So I've always been wearing a mask wherever I need to, and, you know, I have no issue with it, and I don't know why so many people have an issue with it. Like, what, you go into the grocery store for 20 minutes and then you're out? Like, that's really
you're infringing on my goddamn rights. That's why.
Yeah.
You ain't tell me what to do. I ain't wear your goddamn stupid mask. It's a way of mind control.
Yep. Like, I'll never understand that. You know, it's like, I hate wearing them too, but, you know, it's whatever, you know, just fucking do it. Just do it.
Motherfuckers. That's all it is.
Yeah. You know, but at least, you know, my life hasn't really changed much because of the pandemic. I don't really do anything. Like, ever since I got out of college, all I've been looking for is just the next step, I guess. I honestly never thought I'd ever go to college or graduate from college, because when I was in high school, that wasn't my thing. Yeah. That wasn't, you know, and that was only a few years ago. I'm only 22. So, you know, I'm very young. And so, you know, going to college was never on my mind. And then I went to college for music recording. Maybe about a year into it, I didn't like it. And the reason why I didn't like it was because I wanted to make music for the sake of making music, for the sake of loving it. And there were so many people in my program that were like, oh, I want to be famous and I want to be the next big thing. Everybody wants to be famous and be playing Madison Square Garden sold out. Like, everybody wants to do that. Like, but for me, I just wanted to make music because I loved making it. And out of the like maybe about 20 or so people that were in my program that I knew, maybe about 5 people were actually the ones that were passionate and actually wanted to do it, like for the sake of doing it, not for the sake of being famous or making money, you know, because if you're doing something for the sake of being famous and making money, you're doing it wrong. You know, I understand, like, with people making money through streaming and stuff like that and YouTube, that's cool. That's fantastic. But the minute that you make everything about money, like, and obviously when something's a job, then obviously you got to think to yourself, okay, it is about money, because when it's about paying bills and stuff like that, but you know, going into it and you're just an artist, or you're just a content creator making fun content, like, going into it, your first thought shouldn't be, I want to make billions of dollars off of Twitch and billions of dollars off of YouTube and making videos. Like, people, and that's the kind of misconception I don't like. It's like, you know, I've met Sakate, I've met Sin, and I met all these people over on Twitch, and it's like, yeah, Sakate's got a job. If he makes a little bit of extra money on Twitch, good for him. Like, you know, but that whole thing, him spending the money on the PC and him doing this content creation and him doing the Epic Wrestling League, which is an idea that I actually gave him, because him and I met, and I've been doing my universe mode. I've been a wrestling fan for, like, since I was probably in middle school. So 2012, 2013. Again, I'm young. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say about 2 years ago. Yeah.
It feels so long ago because I'm not that same guy anymore. So, like, it feels so long ago. Like, I'm 10 years older, and, you know, a lot can happen within 10 years. So it's like, you ever look back on, like, your younger days and you're like, you know, you're like, man, like, I'm not that same person. And even though that I'm 22 and I haven't scratched this wonderful thing we call life yet, I still feel like there was a lot of things when I was 12 or 13 that I didn't know at the time that I know now. like my mindset now is completely different than what it was when I was 12 or 13 years old. So
yeah, I know. Just like boxes of briefs, what cereal you wanted to eat,
right?
Whole milk, 2% milk.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been doing like YouTube and stuff since I was 10. I was 10 years old in fourth grade.
Weird. That's weird to me because you were part of the. I mean, even though I am a bit older than you, but we still fall into the same, category or whatever. You just experienced it younger than I did and whatnot. It's just like there was no YouTube when we were younger. And then now YouTube is like one of the biggest platforms that we have in social media.
Right.
And I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. We talking about cell phones and shit now.
All right.
There was a time when I was alive that this shit didn't exist,
Well, at least the high tech phones and everything else, and
like it was none consumer grade, put it that way. So I got to see from zero to the first. My mom had one of the first ones to where it was in like a purse, pretty much, and the battery was that fucking big.
Yeah, they were huge, and you couldn't put them in your pocket.
No,
now you can.
That's a crazy way to look at it. You could not put this bitch in your pocket.
Yep. And what I don't understand now is that there's phones that are like that, like the Note phones, the Samsung Note phones. It's like, why would somebody want a phone that big? Why? Like in today's day and age, why would you want a phone that big? Like, because then you can't even put that in your pocket because it's so dang big. It's the same. It's kind of the same thing, except it's modern now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just where we are now, because the thing in the beginning was it started out huge because we didn't have the technology to, make it smaller. And then once we got the freaking hold on that, it was the smaller the phone, the better the phone. And then after that, it was just like, I can't watch porn on this little bitty TV. Let me make it bigger.
I can't watch porn on it.
Yeah. So,
I love how the first thing you said is like, I can't watch porn on this. I can't.
Well, I mean, think about the technology that we have, the advancements that we've made. It's all based around porn, pretty much. Well, consumption.
Well,
of porn.
I mean, if you think about it, now that you mentioned that, VR, virtual reality, the porn industry was the first industry to be like, they were the first ones to ask this question. What would it be like to be in your own porn?
To quote Bailey, ding dong, hello. Are you here?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they drive the industry and whatnot. It's just, it was kind of dicey in the beginning when we started converting to HD because nobody wanted to see a pimply booty porn star.
Pixel, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, it is what it is. And, they got to get better makeup and stuff now because, damn, some of the crow's feet and all the other wear and tear that they have on their body is prevalent in HD.
Yeah, it is. It's like, sweetheart, now you got to hide that because now it's HD now. So
yeah. But you start my VR and everything, and that was the first thing that came to my mind when they started introducing it, for people to purchase and whatnot. I was like, how are they going to put porn on that? How is porn going to be incorporated in this?
Mean,
there's a company in Japan, of all places, that they make a harness for this motherfucker. So like you put it on your head and you got a bodysuit and it wrap around your torso and shit. And as you interact with the porn, it do the things, it milk you like a cow, pretty much.
You know what's weird though is like I've done it. Like I wanted to try it just to see what it was.
Yeah.
And the weirdest freaking thing was like, so in some of them they put you in this room.
Yeah,
you can't.
POV, and then
you can't really see nothing, and then they start the story or whatever, or I don't know. They got the hot girl in front of you. She starts talking to you, but it's weird because it's supposed to be you, but it feels weird at the same time because it's like you just see, like, you look down and you just see a dude's torso.
Yeah.
you 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 look down and you just see a dude's torso, and you're like, so like the whole
It's
time.
jarring. I mean, because like it's me or whatever. Then I got a Caucasian bottom half. I'm like,
Yeah, you got a you got a white dick, but it's like, but it's funny because like that's why I'd never look down. You'd always just look up.
Oh no, don't look down.
Like you always just look up, like, but it's weird. It's weird because I never thought in a million years like
Exactly.
that would be the first thing that people would think of when they thought of VR. Like I thought video games would have been like, yeah, we're gonna do this, but no, it wasn't PlayStation, it wasn't Xbox, it was the freaking porn industry that's like, hey, let's put people in their own porn, and I mean, the rest is history. There, you know, it's weird. It's weird, man.
Yeah,
I think about it.
We go back to technology again. We're gonna look at porn as far as the advances porn has made that I can remember in my lifetime. I can remember being the youngest and stumbling upon it, and it was magazines.
Yeah, Playboy and Hustler and
paper and all kind of stuff. It was just a variety of paperback, and then to go to a VHS tape, and just finding that crazy shit, and then it's just like
then the DVDs
and then it's just on demand now. It's like I can summon this bitch like a wizard and be like, here it is on my phone.
The weirdest thing is like we talk about this is like with the pandemic, because look at the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Like never in a million years did I ever think that you would actually have fake crowd noise and TV.
Well, let's be fair. If you remember the old school taped SmackDowns with the SmackDown pop and everything.
Right.
It's not relatively new, but it's just awkward in that environment.
Yeah, it is, because it's supposed to be, essentially live entertainment. So to try to like replicate people being there, it's kind of just awkward, because it's like, it's not like a live crowd. It's not.
Well,
so
it is and it isn't. Because like, think about it. Because it's somebody like how we're doing right now, sitting in front of their computer or TV or phone or however they're doing their Thunderdome experience. And just think about all the shit that you have going on in a normal day-to-day while you're watching wrestling. Because I know I got kids running around and shit. My wife asking me questions. There's food being cooked in the background. There's all kinds of matter of noise. Just imagine everybody's single Thunderdome experience being piped in through the speakers.
Right.
That would be a weird fucking sound.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. It would be. I mean, if I were to say that wrestling didn't give me everything that I ever needed in my entire life, I'd be lying. Because like, if it weren't for wrestling, I wouldn't have transferred colleges and I wouldn't have taken the career path that I wanted to take. Because like, when I was in college for music, I would always go back to my dorm. I had a single dorm room, so it was nobody but me.
Lucky.
But I had to have that because of, my disability, my special needs, and certain things that I needed. So, and plus I didn't want to clean up after other people's shit and get into the arguments with roommates and shit and all that shit.
Other than the disability part, lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider the disability part a little bit lucky too, because I've been, as unfortunate as it is that I have to deal with what I have to deal with, I would say it's more of a blessing than a curse, to be honest. I always say handicap has its perks. As horrible as that sounds, it really does, because I make good friends with security guards at concerts, at events and stuff. I don't want to say this because it sounds horrible, but pretty much I kind of always get what I want to a certain degree, because it's like they're not going to say no to some kid with a handicap. Like, they're not. Like, generally speaking, like, usually I would go to a concert and I would always get front row seats. because for whatever reason, the thing is when you're in public and you're handicapped or you're in a wheelchair, it's usually only when I'm in a wheelchair. I can walk and everything, just not well.
Yeah.
But usually when I'm in a wheelchair, people act like you don't exist. They act
Mhm.
like you're invisible. And so I've grown accustomed to it. Like, it's not right. It's not a right thing. It's horrible, but I've grown accustomed to it because I know that people are assholes and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I would go back to my dorm and I would watch wrestling. That's what I would do. I would watch Raw because I had Hulu. So we had cable at college, but not all.
You're blowing my mind right now because I know this was only a few years ago to you, but
Right.
it's just like to hear you be like, when I was younger, I used to watch wrestling through YouTube, I mean, or Hulu or whatever. It's crazy to me because when I was your age, damn, I had to tune in week to week,
Right. TV.
and
Yeah. And it's funny
caveman over
because
here and shit, right?
yeah, it's funny because like there's Hulu with live TV.
Mhm.
Like you can get Hulu with live TV, and that's what my mom and we cut the cord a while back,
Yeah.
and to save money. But my grandparents, they've always had cable. Like I'm living here with my grandmother now, and she has cable, but I still watch stuff. I don't watch Raw the night that it airs. I
No.
wait for it
Mhm.
on Hulu because I have the Hulu with no commercials, so I can watch it straight through.
And then
So
the Hulu experience for Monday Night Raw, they cut it down to 90 minutes.
right,
They just put in the pertinent information rather than all the side fill in, all this other stuff.
right, exactly. So like that's what I do, and yeah, I've gone to my fair share of wrestling events. I've met my fair share of wrestlers. Mick Foley, I met him. I met Devon Dudley. Who else did I meet? I've had many interactions with wrestlers. Deonna Purrazzo, the Knockouts champion at Impact. I actually have a ring used piece of the canvas that they used in Bound for Glory, the pay-per-view last year in October. They were giving them away in an auction, and I got it for $60. And Deonna was signing it through a live stream, and that's how they were like raising money for stuff. I don't know what they were doing, but they do that all the time. And I had Deonna sign it for me. I also have had many interactions with Rosemary, the Demon Assassin Rosemary from Impact. I know a guy named Cody Deaner who's with Eric Young with Impact, and I met him a while back. I met him a while back, and him and I stay in touch. Paige from WWE, she's a streamer now.
Well, I don't know
Twitch.
how that's going or whatever. She got banned.
Well, she's back.
She's back? Okay.
Yeah, she's back.
They make it seem so dire or whatever. Be like, oh, she was banned. Like she did something horrible, horrendous. She just streamed a movie.
Right, exactly. So I was actually in Paige's first stream. The first stream that she did on Twitch. And that's how I got into wrestling, was because of her. My mother and I would watch Total Divas together. We watched that
That's
together.
Funny. That's funny too, man. To hear how my story isn't too far off, but to hear how you got into wrestling because of a reality show, essentially.
Well, no, it was funny. It was funny because I knew I was into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew the whole thing with Edge and his retirement, the whole thing with CM Punk, the summer of Punk. I knew all that stuff. I knew who Paige was. I knew because I started watching NXT in 2012, 2013 when she won the first ever one. And I started, and I always loved women's wrestling over the men's because I always felt like
to look at essentially.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but I always felt like they had something to prove, and the whole Divas Revolution thing, and everything else. Like I always said, why are they calling it Diva? Like me, I'm no feminist or no nothing, but like that belt looks stupid and the whole thing was dumb and everything else. And then when AJ Lee came along, and Paige came out the night after WrestleMania, on Raw, and I remember the date too, April 7th, 2014. I remember that. And she came out and, she won the title, and, but Mom and I would watch Total Divas. And the only reason why she would watch it with me is because she knows that I liked Paige. Like, she knew that I liked Paige, so we would watch together. And then I started to really get into it. And then that's when she retired in 2018, and she became GM of SmackDown. That is when my universe mode and my whole streaming career started. That is when the Outlaw character was created. I don't know if you remember this, but it was one segment where it was James Ellsworth. He came out.
Yeah.
And he challenged Asuka, or he was blabbing about Asuka, and then Paige came out and she's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And, he's like, "Oh, you're here to ask me out on a date, aren't you?" And she's like, yeah. How's next Tuesday sound? And she's like, "Oh, you're not going to have a date with me. You're going to have a match with Asuka."
Mm-hmm.
And I instantly thought in my head that, what if that was me out there? What if that was me instead of James? And then I constantly thought in my head, here's how I would do the segment. Like, here's how I would do it.
Yeah.
And then after a while, because I wanted to be a wrestler. And like the whole time, because the reason why, because I, believe it or not, I wasn't the most popular kid in school. I had a lot of people that were, I had friends. I wasn't like a complete loner, but I grew up in one of those towns where, like, it was a very athletic town. So, and you got your cliques and everything else in school, and everybody did. It doesn't matter how old you are, everybody did. And, I had friends, and I was kind of the nerdy, geeky kid, but also, like, I was also the disabled kid too. And there was kids with disabilities, but they were in special ed classes. They weren't integrated among the population. But I was one of those kids that wasn't in that class. I had probably an extra aide in that class, like an extra teacher, and that was like for math class, because I suck at math. I just suck at it. I wasn't good.
We all do. The only thing I'm good at is adding and subtracting, because they add money into my account and then I subtract it toward bills.
Right? Yep, exactly. So it wasn't too good. So, I was going through, like, a lot of real depression and all that stuff. But the whole suspending disbelief, or that thing that they always say with wrestling, like, disbelief thing.
Yeah.
The feeling of that something, is that real? Isn't it real? Or is it not real? Or whatever. I don't know. Like that whole thing. And, what made me get into Paige was, like, she's not like your typical diva.
Yeah, that skin, like, is like, how do you even do that?
Like, she's pale as hell, like me. And she's goth, and she's this poor English girl. Like, she had no money before coming to WWE. Like, even on her stream, she'd be like, yeah, I'd steal stuff from the store, and I would do this, and I would do this, and I would do this, and I would do this. Like, she would do all this stuff just to, provide for her family. Her family was in and out of jail and drugs and all that other shit. And, like, she basically turned her entire life around going to the WWE. So, it was kind of, I don't know. I connected with her character in a way, like, she's different and I'm different too. So it's kind of like, because I'm pale. I mean, I'm not, goth and emo, but, I'm pale, and, she's a girl that's from England, and she's pale, and all these other women are tan, and
the
anti-diva
is what
the anti-diva. Yep. And it was the whole reason why the Outlaw character was created. And then, because somebody was like, "What's your first name?" And I was like, "Bryan, that with a Y. That's my first name." And they're like, and so I kept thinking of, like, okay, how is the Outlaw character? Is he a heel? Is he a anti-hero, like a tweener, or is he's a face? And I consider him to be a tweener, but all my life I'm the type of guy that keeps it 100. Like I'm the guy that like will tell you things that you need to hear. And like we live in a world where nobody likes that anymore.
We live in a world.
Yeah.
We live in a society.
Yeah, we live in a world where nobody likes to hear that anymore. So you're seen as the bad guy, like just because you have a different opinion from somebody else's, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's political, religious, or whatever it is, you're seen as, whatever society wants to see you as.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like, where I was always taught to believe in what you believe in, stand up for what you believe in, and don't apologize for it. Like I'll apologize for something, but I won't apologize for, my values and what I believe in. Like if I believe in something, I'm going to believe in it and I'm not going to change it just because this person don't like it or this person don't like it. Like,
a weird aside, kind of related to what you're talking about. I started binging seasons of shows that I may have missed out on and all kind of stuff. I just went back and watched 4 or 5 seasons of Eastbound and Down. I've watched all 15 seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I got a lot of time on my hands at night. So I've been going through binging all these different shows. And right now I'm going through the 5 seasons of Teen Titans.
The good one?
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I talked to the guy that I was watching it with about that too. It's just like they changed it so much, but at the same time, it suits the time that we live in now, the newer one. But anyway, just last night, I was in season 4, I believe episode 2 or 3, maybe. But the name of the episode was Chalk or something like that, I believe. And it was used as a derogatory term towards Starfire. They had this new character that came in or whatever, and they were helping him out, and he would call her a truck because of the planet that she came from and everything. And it was one of those situations to where she was confiding in Cyborg, who is half human, half robot, and his human half is black. So she was telling him about the word truck and how it's derogatory is a bad word and everything. And she was like, "Don't you ever feel like this?" And he was like, "Yeah, people get on me because of," and then I was just like, "Because you black?" And he was like, "Because I'm a robot." I was like, "Oh, I see where they went with this episode. They went a whole different direction."
Right.
But essentially, it was almost talking about the N-word. And I was like, I like how they did that.
Like, yeah, they sometimes some shows, they talk about things in a way that is, I feel, is more proper. Mm-hmm. Like you didn't realize it right away, but as you read between the lines, you're like, yeah, that's kind of what they're, talking about. So that's kind of how I like gravitated towards Paige, because through her character, part of her character was actually who she is in real life. Like, I feel that part of her character was 100% authentic, that it wasn't just TV. That because you listen to her talk about stuff, and she's very open about the trouble that she's gotten in and things like that, and to be so open like that.
You think her story is kind of rough? You should hear her mom's shit, man.
Yeah, her mom's, yeah.
Oof. She was on, I forget what podcast. It was a while back. She was talking about how she got raped and everything, and how she met her husband and all kind of stuff like that. The one Paige knows as her father now. I was like,
Ricky, yeah.
I was like, God damn.
Right. Yeah, I've heard the stories of that, and it's and for me it was kind of weird, because it was like I'm a dude,
yeah,
she's a woman. Like, how can I relate to a woman when I'm not a woman, But it was kind of like the whole idea of like, especially, you know, her coming out of this whole thing with the scandals and all the other crap that happened and everything else. And her coming out of this whole thing saying, F you guys, I don't care. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do whatever I want and blah, 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 blah.
Well, can't you? The only bad thing about those videos that came out or whatever is just the bit that related to her job. Because there was some debauchery in there with the Divas title at the time, I believe, or the NXT title.
NXT Women's title.
Yeah, so that was the only bad thing that I thought of that whole situation or whatnot. Other than that, she's just human, man.
Exactly.
Some freaky shit. So there's nothing that doesn't based upon. They're not hurting anybody, but that was not her property, so to speak, to be doing those type of things with. And that was the only issue with it.
Right, exactly. And the fact that, you know, and I was in her, you know, very first stream, and I was teaching her how to play Zelda because she didn't know she's never played video games in her life, like really ever. So I was teaching her how to play Zelda, and then I started to come back. Before you know it, I start gifting subs to her channel and start doing this. And, you know, then I just start talking to her about her career, you know, as a wrestler. And, you know, she knows me as Botch TV like everybody else does. You know, but it seems like she's completely stripped away Paige and just is Saraya. Now.
Yeah.
And, you know, she always tells me, you know, you could call me that if you want to. And I said, no, I can't. and she's like, why not? And I said, well, you're always going to be the anti-diva to me. You're never gonna be like, to me, like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, that's different. You know, and now sometimes she'll say Mr. Outlaw sometimes after my character, which is funny. So sometimes she'll play along with it, and it's hilarious. It's funny because she's the whole reason why the character exists.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, the whole idea. So, like, long story short, I ended up making this universe mode, RCW, Ravage Championship Wrestling. And I started it in 2018. And before then, I had a blue snowball. I didn't have the Elgato Wave 3 like I have now. I didn't have...
Hold on.
Right. I didn't have all the technology that I have. I didn't have, you know, an Elgato Stream Deck. I didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't have any of that stuff. But I wasn't as skilled. If you told me
I'm still not.
that 3 years ago that I'd still be doing this, I would have said you're nuts. Because I'm the type of guy that, like, it's kind of like with a trend where, like, it's popular for a little bit and then something else replaces it. You know, so I thought, okay, I'm going to do this for a little bit and then it's not going to be fun anymore. But it was then that I realized that, like, I'm good at this. You know, I'm good. And I started to put my life into the character. So I started to share my personal stories. Like, my father was not a good person. My father had, you know, he passed away when I was 3, but he was never around. So, and his family was never around. So I was like, let me apply that to the character. And then I created, I think it was Jason Outlaw, his brother, first. And then because I never had brothers and sisters.
So you got the Outlaw family.
You know? And then I created Sky Outlaw, his sister, Skylar. I created her. And then I created Luna. And then I created Jack. And then everything else just kind of fell into place after that. All the other characters after that kind of just fell into place. And I started to just apply parts of me to those characters. So, you know, Sky deals with my story of when I was in a really bad, you know, controlling, abusive relationship when I was 16. And so she deals with that. And I don't know if you know the one entrance, but it's the one entrance in 2K19 where it's a female superstar entrance where she comes out with the mirror, the makeup mirror.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big Shakespeare guy. I'm a big metaphorical person. So I like to use, objects and certain things as like metaphors. So when Sky first came along, I used the mirror, and the mirror is kind of like a metaphor as like her being obsessed with her appearance, her being obsessed with looking good because her ex-boyfriend made her think that she's only worth it because of her looks, and she doesn't. So that's why she's a snotty bitch, basically. Is that like, you get, and there was a lot of girls that I went to school with that were like that. They tried so hard to look good, but their personalities weren't the greatest at all. So
everything that you're talking about is nothing like how the fuck I was doing. It's just like I would sit there and watch simulations. I mean, essentially that's what we do. But
right.
I'm just sitting there as if, because my experience to it is, I like to do the commentary. I
do
like
too.
to challenge myself as far as what move is what move and whatnot. Not everybody knows the freaking RKO as the RKO when it's like the Ace Crusher and the falling front face. I try to get the actual name of the move,
right?
Or whatever. I just like that aspect of it to call the play-by-play of the joint.
I do that too.
But you got layers and shit talking about the mirror is an allegory to the soul and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. I was like, you're way more advanced than I am, my friend.
Me, what I do is I'll play the match as one person.
Okay.
And I live commentate as I'm playing it. But here's the thing. I'm also planning the match in my head as I'm commentating it. So like I have to think in my head, okay, I'm going to go for this spot. I'm going to go for this spot. I'm going to go for this now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I have to commentate it because I could sit there. And that's the thing. People are like, oh, you could sit there and let the AI whoop your ass, or you could sit there and whoop the AI's ass. And that's, but the thing is I let the AI get shots in because I want it to be an actual wrestling match.
Yeah.
And
that's the difference between a simulation, because those things, it's a simulation and those things go wildly awry or whatever.
Yeah. But sometimes they turned out to be good though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I want this one to win, but then it's just like the other guy get the freaking finisher in within the first 3 moves and then the match is over. It's like, well, fuck, how am I commentate that? That was just like over too quick.
What's funny is now that you mention that, I go through that same problem. Mm-hmm. I'll want somebody to win, and the guy that I'm controlling, I'll lose. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh shit.
So how does that affect your storylines and stuff? I mean,
the thing is,
yeah.
The thing is, I have 3 different scenarios of how a storyline can go.
Win, lose, or draw.
Oh, not draw. No. I don't like draws. Mm-hmm. I actually, in season 7 of my show, which it's on season 10 right now, the regular show, there's 2 additional shows that I created as spinoffs. So like the RCW original show in season 7, I increased the count out to 20 on all normal matches, on all matches where countouts apply. Because I didn't want matches to end in draws. I'm the type of guy that likes a match to end in a finish. And if it's going to end in a draw, whether it's a Iron Man, like let's say one person tied 1-1 ends in a draw, okay, that's fine. But I don't like, a heel just to get a count out, Mm-hmm. And so the Outlaws, they're not like those heels that are like, oh, I'm just going to get a count out and just blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They're the guys that are going to finish it. They want to beat you. They want to hurt you. And, and so like, but then I started to think as the show went along, how can I make the show better? As every season goes by, I'm always like, okay, I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. Because, everybody hates hearing their own voice and everybody hates, watching their own shit. But sometimes I'll be like, oh man, I wish I could have done that there. Or, oh man, I wish I could have done that there. And so, you know, a lot of my stuff is like, I'll look back and I'll be like, yeah, I love that match. I love that story. And I remember stories that I did back in season 2. And actually, one of the stories that I'm doing right now in season 10 is actually a continuation of what happened in season 2. So my storylines are continuous. Yeah, they're you know, so I ended up doing that, and I actually have this app on my phone. It's for the iPhone only, unfortunately.
Of
but
course.
it's an app, and it's called Social Dummy, and it's this app that allows you to make social media accounts, like spoof social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, let me do this. I was like, I can create Twitter accounts for the characters and have them tweet to each other and then share the screenshots in a Discord. Or because what I do is I'll stream it live. I'll stream it live like on Glimish, which is this new streaming platform. I stream on there. And so I'll stream it live on Glimish, and then I'll record it because it doesn't have VODs yet. It's one of those platforms that doesn't even have VODs yet. So I'll record it, and then I'll edit it and add the music in, add everything that I want in. So then I did all of that stuff. And then once all the Outlaws came into play, I started making backstories to the Outlaws. I started doing all these other spin-off series because of those characters. So then I was like, how can I make Bryan Outlaw more human? And I was like, okay, let me cut promos as him. So then I started doing it in Audacity, and I started to write stuff down in my notes pad, in my notes app on my iPhone, just to write scripted promos. So I would just do, and then I had to develop a voice for him. So, you know,
there's just so many layers right now.
And it's like I had to develop. I know
sit in front of the goddamn thing and watch Sims.
I had to develop, you know, a voice for him. So I was like, okay, how would he talk? And I was like, I'm loud.
That is rather difficult or whatever, because you have your voice for you, and then you gotta not only come up with something that doesn't sound like you, but you also have to think of that voice that you're doing as well.
Right.
Because I've done voiceovers for a character that I have in another league that guys that I know mutually through a podcast, and they started their own, you know, 2K league or whatever.
Right.
And my character is in that league, and I represent myself in my podcast. So that's not the hard part. They would just send me lines, and I would just say it as I would say it as my character. But when they need help for all these extra characters from the league proper, because we're side characters to that league. Right. So it's like their own league, like how you have your characters, like original characters. And then we're like a side show or a side project to that show. It's just like
all it's the like people that we with Socrates characters, and all that.
Yeah, all the people that we know mutually through the podcast, we represent ourselves in our podcast as characters in their little world and stuff.
Right.
So when I'm doing the stuff for me, it's fine because like I can just ad lib and do what I normally do.
Right.
But when they be like, hey man, we got this other character, could you just lend a voice to it? And I'm just sitting there like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, all right, this dude looks like he would talk this way.
Right.
Now, all right, we give him a voice. So how would this character think in the situation?
Yeah.
So like, and it's just fucking like weird.
Yeah, it is weird because for me, the Outlaw thinks the same as me. Mm-hmm. Like, when people hear me speak as him, they're like, that's not you. And I'm like, yes, it is. It is me. Like, it's my voice. And it's funny because when I talk like him, it's almost like sort of like, I think of it as like a person that I wanted to grow into. Mm-hmm. Because I cared so much about what other people thought about me and, you know, the outlaw mentality, like, yeah, outlaw means you break laws. But the outlaw mentality, the outlaw concept is, and the concept of the character is, you're an outlaw to society, meaning that you're not going to obey societal norms. You're going to do what you want to do because you want to, not because society is. I
want to wear a mask and get a vaccine, motherfucker.
Well, not in the sense of that.
Yeah, I know, but you know, I'll just say, yeah, I was fucking around.
But like, you know how people are always like, oh, you have to be this way. You have to be this way. You have to be this way.
You have to get a vaccine. You have to get a mask.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Fucking around.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's sort of the same ideology. Like you're gonna do it because you're gonna do it because you feel it's right to do it. So, you know, when I had to create the voice for him, it was like, I don't even remember the first promo that I did. But I'll just go back to one of the promos that I just did. It was a while back, and it was the Empty Promises promo. Mm-hmm. That's what I call it. And it was the promo that I did against Cody Rhodes for a series called the Outlaw World Tour, where they go around the world promotion to promotion, and right now they're in AEW. Mm-hmm. And I had this rivalry with Cody Rhodes, and I basically took screenshots from my actual Instagram and my actual Twitter, because the Outlaws, they call me Boss Man. That's what they call me. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I took screenshots from my actual Twitter, and I took a screenshot of Rosemary liking one of my comments on Instagram. I took a screenshot of Kendra Cole, who's a porn star, liking one of my tweets on Twitter.
See how everything that we talked about just kind of interlaces and everything. We talked about porn and all it just pops up.
Yeah, it really, it's weird, isn't it? And it's like, and so, like, I think I said, I basically sat there and I made fun of Cody's marriage with his wife the whole time. And I didn't say anything too bad. I basically said, let me try and remember. I think I said it. There's one famous phrase, and everybody knows that phrase, and it's "till death do us part." And I said it kind of like, I want to try and get the voice because it sounds better with the voice, so I'm gonna try and do it. What are two things? Hang on, here we go. Yeah. What are two things that are certain in life? Death and taxes. Yes. Everything else, you don't know. And so, you know, that was one of the lines that I did for the promo, where so basically I just whisper when I talk. And when I record it,
Jake the Snake type deal.
Yeah. I took a lot of inspiration from Jake the Snake. And just a lot of inspiration from CM Punk too. I learned everything that I knew, everything that I know now from Rosemary. Rosemary, definitely, I learned a lot from her because I would do stuff in her character. So sometimes I would comment on her Instagram because she stays in character 100% of the time.
Yeah,
like 100%. So like,
is she a part of the Decay?
Yeah, Decay.
All right.
Yeah.
So answer my question real quick. You know, as a side, I've been trying to get back into Impact or whatever. One, because I have former guest Kiera Hogan that's there, and I try to keep up with her and everything. But it's just like,
I love Kiera. She's awesome.
Oh boy. But every pay-per-view that they had as of recent that I think I've watched at least the last 3 or 4. Is it just a staple in their pay-per-view format to where Decay has to start the damn show every time?
I don't know, but it is kind of ironic.
Yeah, every match, every pay-per-view that I've watched, recently has a Decay match to start the show.
And I know who it used to be. It used to be Abyss, Crazy Steve, and Rosemary. Yeah. And Rosemary has 7 different versions of her characters based on the 7 deadly sins. Mm-hmm. So each of those characters acts different. I like Lust. Lust was my favorite. Lust was my favorite character that she ever did. But I learned a lot from just watching her do what she did. And watching her mannerisms. I would spend nights watching promos. And I eventually got close with her because what I do is I like to feed into the superstar's gimmick. Mm-hmm. So when I would tweet out to Rosemary, I would talk in her character. And she has this other character named Courtney Rush, which is her without face paint. Mm-hmm. It's just her. And the whole story of Rosemary goes back to Smash Wrestling with Allie, who used to be Cherry Bomb, the Demon Slayer. And so, that whole story, when I would talk to Courtney, because Courtney Rush, her other persona, she has another Twitter account and another Instagram for it. And so she is like real deep into the whole kayfabe thing. Yeah. So I would just talk with her character and she would talk back to me sometimes. And her and I would just do like this little improv thing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth constantly. And I started to get better. And, then I would watch Paige's promos and I would watch, all this other stuff. And then eventually I didn't need a script anymore. Eventually I would just have a scenario in my head and I'd be able to cut a promo. And I would, like, I've done it on Paige before in her Twitch chat. There's sometimes where I've just done it just to do it, like, and she'll play along with it and she thinks it's the funniest thing ever sometimes. And it's cool.
We're gonna have to revive the promo in the bank. We got a thing on Wrestling is Trash called the promo in the bank, and pretty much as the Money in the Bank works, you can cash in at any time on anybody, and they have to cut a promo of your choosing for I think we have a minute and whatnot.
Really?
So, yeah, pretty much. So anytime we just doing the show, like, yeah, man, you seen Monday Night Raw, and we just talking about and I hit the button, boom,
surprise, motherfucker.
And then, it's pretty much the rundown and everything. And they'll be like, all right, Bryan, I'm cashing in on you. You have to cut a promo for 1 minute about socks, just anything,
Oh, shit.
So when I cash in on you, you have to cut a 1 minute promo about socks, and that's just
that's kind of cool.
So that's what the promo in the bank is for the show. So we've had all kinds of crazy shit because another famous Bryan that I know is Bryan from the UWO podcast. He frequents there and everything. He hates Mongo McMichael, barring his current situation, but just old school Mongo performances and shit. So anytime just about anybody cash in on him, they make him say good things about Mongo McMichael.
That's awesome. It's great. But it's crazy because I know this character's just in a video game. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it started out as a character in a video game, but I think it's safe to say that without that character, I wouldn't be in the spot that I am in now. I wouldn't have done 10 seasons of the show. I wouldn't have done, all these storylines. I wouldn't be writing a book on these 5 characters. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be in the position I am with, Paige at all. I wouldn't be, in the position that I am with a lot of things. And to me, Paige is the start of all of it. Like, that's the one thing that's in common, was that Paige was the start of all of it. So, I think I sent a tweet out a couple nights ago, saying that, when I say Team Paige, I mean that shit. Yeah. And, I was told I would never walk or talk. I had 12 surgeries. I've had multiple operations. I've done this. And I was told I never walk or talk. And if Paige has taught me anything, it's you can overcome anything. It doesn't matter what it is. People are going to talk shit about you, and that's how it is. That just means you've made it. And, then that just means you're doing something right, And so, and like 5 minutes after I tweeted it, she liked it. And there was one time where she retweeted one of my tweets and it freaking blew up. But you tell me 10 years ago when I was 12 that I'd be chatting with somebody that I saw on Total Divas, I'd tell you you're nuts. But now it doesn't seem like I'm nuts anymore, and it's
you say 10 years ago I was 12. 10 years ago I was starting a second marriage.
Yeah, I mean, now that's something I'd never thought of. And that's probably because I'm young, but I've always told people, it's my life has been focused on wrestling. Like, after, that, that horrible thing that I went through at 16, at 18, I had this girl that I was into that basically used me for like 2 to 3 years, or maybe about 1 to 2 years, and I took her to my prom because I was senior and she was, I think, a sophomore at the time. And she basically ruined it. She said that she didn't want to be with me anymore, didn't want to do this anymore. And most of that money that I spent, like I spent the money on the limo, I spent the money on the tuxedo rental and stuff like that. A lot of that money was out of my own pocket. Yeah. So $1,200 later, I go to school after that weekend because prom was on a Saturday. I go to school on Monday feeling like shit. I didn't want to be in class. I didn't want to be surrounded by anybody because I felt like a freaking idiot. And, then I realized that, when I was in college and I wanted to do this wrestling thing, that I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on me and no bitch is going to come in between that.
Bitches.
And, that's not to say that all women are bitches, but
no, just a vast majority.
But yeah, and there's that small minority of them that are actually good people, and and I want to be known as Bryan Outlaw to the rest of the world, and that RCW has helped me do that. Like, I treat it like it's an actual wrestling show. Like the show that I just started, Relentless, you're not allowed to have any regular matches. It's all like Hell in a Cell hardcore type matches, and titles can be on the line because I have this rule where I have 2 pay-per-views a season, 20 episodes a season. And at the pay-per-views, all titles must be defended, all of them, every single one. And I have 7 titles, all across all those shows. And so, when I have to do the storylines and I have to do everything, like I had this character named Eliza, who's from Germany, from Berlin, Germany. And I did these 3 different segments that are on my YouTube channel that were completely separate from RCW because I wanted to hype up Eliza, but I didn't want her to just run in on somebody like through the game. I wanted something bigger. And so, it was going to be my character's girlfriend. It was going to be my character's love interest. The first time he's ever had like an actual love interest in his life. There was that love triangle storyline between him and Paige when he won the Carnage title and she helped him keep it. But that wasn't like anything. So I wanted to create like a more sensitive side to him. So I created this character where she was from Berlin and, she was an orphan and, she was running away from her foster home and sleeping nights in alleys and all that stuff. And I created that whole entire story. And I created a story where he brought her to Manhattan, which is where their wrestling school was and which is where the Outlaws are from. And so I did all this whole thing.
Not to cut you off, because like you got layers upon layers and everything. So all these storylines and all these characters and everything, that's going to be in the book that you're making?
Most of it.
Word.
Most of it. A lot of the stuff that's going to be in the book is going to be stuff that isn't in the videos. So people will actually have to read the book to get like the whole story of domestic violence with Sky Outlaw and her being a victim of it, and the trial and everything else. Like that's gonna be in the story. That's gonna be in the book, because that's something that wasn't mentioned. Actually,
if I can suggest something, if these are going to be stories aside from what has already been recorded on your streams and whatnot, I think you should just transcribe all the seasons, the story from season 1 all the way up until current.
That's almost what I'm doing.
Like, you know how
that's what I'm doing actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually
it's almost like how they do compendiums, I think.
Yeah.
Or whatever, is from book 1 all the way up to book whatever.
Yeah, I actually if I think it's going to go up to season 7.
Okay.
The book is going to go up to season 7. I don't know if I'm ever going to write a second one. I got to get done writing the first one first. But it's going to, I wanted it to start off heavy because it starts off with obviously the story of Sky Outlaw. And then there's certain chapters that are going to focus on particular characters. Like Luna Outlaw, she came with a mask, the camo mask that you can wear in the game. She came with this mask, and it's a metaphor for depression and anxiety, the demons of your past. And I had her wear that mask from season 3 to season 5, and she took it off. And then she had it off for a while, and then she put it back on again. I believe it was in season 7.
To save the business, as we like to do for Kane. Save the business, put the mask back on.
And I did it in the sense of like, because colors represent things. Like black represents death. It's the color of death. That's why you see people wear black at a funeral, because it's death. So I took red, which is the color of strength and courage and all that, and I put a glow in. I put a glow on the mask of Luna Outlaw, and she wrestled Whitney White, one of the characters, and I had her choke slam her through the announce table twice, because I had and there's a spot. I love that call too. I love that call. I have a clip of it and everything. I love that freaking call. It's amazing. And then I had her switch back after that pay-per-view. I had her switch back to purple, which is the color of pride. And royalty. Yeah. But when I made her debut, I had her wear a white mask, a mask with a white glow, which is the color of hope, which is something that she desired to have. She longed for it. And now she wears this mask that's rusted and not glowing anymore, meaning that it's engraved in her now. So and I have her hairstyle, and her hair is dyed white. Part of her hair is dyed white. So now she has the hope that she wanted on her head and in her head. So a lot of metaphorical stuff, and a lot of work goes into it, obviously, with not only with the
shit.
not only with the storylines, but with the segments. Like I have a segment called In the Clouds with Sky Outlaw, which is it's a talk show where she interviews people. And I basically go through the highlight reel, and I have her stand in a dress and high heels, and have another superstar stand across from her. And then I have text boxes to symbolize them talking with each other. Wow. And then if I want somebody to attack, I just have somebody attack if I want to.
So with everything that you created, essentially during the pandemic and everything, because we've kind of, in a sense, had a void of professional wrestling. Right. Now there are things that are starting to open back up, and crowds are being let back into buildings and whatnot. Are you excited to get back out there and go to any shows if you have been?
I am. I'm excited to go to AEW. AEW Dynamite. I've had those tickets since March of 2019, I think.
Yeah, them bitches owe me some tickets. Because they're supposed to come to Houston, and shit happened. So
they're coming to Texas again on tour. They're coming to different places in Texas.
They're coming back here in August, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to go because I got to work. So
and so I'm going to that. And what other show am I going to? I don't think I'm going to any other wrestling show, but I'm going to a Fozzy concert. So I'm gonna meet Chris Jericho in the band. And that's like a couple weeks before AEW, so I'm gonna see him twice.
Did you watch the show last night?
Double or Nothing? Yeah, it was dope. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
There was only scared when they did the little rappel joint down into the stadium. I was just like, oh Lord.
Because of Owen Hart and all that. Yeah,
not even that. It's just like that. What they were doing, it looked kind of stupid. I know they was trying to be very safe because especially of the fact that you just brought up, but it's just like it was taking too damn long.
Right.
You know, I was like, all right, they should have just edited the shit out of that. It's just like show them coming down and just have them at the bottom, like with the fire and shit like they did. I was just like, yeah, we don't need to see all them motherfuckers swinging up there, hitting the wall and coming back.
Right. Like, I thought the thing about AEW that I like over WWE in the past, like, couple years, or, and this from just WWE, is that I love the prolonged storytelling, the continuity. Like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but like I'm the type of guy, like I don't like rematches unless it adds something to the story. Like, why are we seeing this match like 1 to 2 to 3 times in 1 week? Like, why? Mm-hmm. Like, it's the same match. We all know who's gonna win. Like, who cares? Like, and see, like that's kind of how I view my thing, how I treat, you know, my 2K series or my 2K universe is like, if there's going to be a rematch, there's going to be a reason for it.
Yeah,
there's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be, oh, the champion lost, now they get a rematch. Okay. Like,
so
all that.
Speaking of your 2K league and everything that you got going on via social media, our time has elapsed. So, if you could let everybody know where they can find all these glorious antics that you be putting out and creating from your mind hole and everything and projecting out into the world for everybody to see.
Well, you can find me on glimish.tv/Botch TV. That is where I stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I've taken the day off, obviously, because today is Monday.
Yes.
But Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays normally on glimish.tv/Botch TV. You can also find me on YouTube, same name, Botch TV, and that's where all my archive streams go. So I would do them live and then I record them, get them recorded, and then get them edited and uploaded. Also, there's a bunch of other content on there. Most of it's wrestling. Most of it has to do with my Outlaw characters and my storytelling and everything else. And same thing on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else. You know, you can find clips on TikTok of, you know, my stupid wrestling calls or whatever, you know, me going crazy. But that's pretty much where you can find me.
Word. And as it has been for every guest of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast, you have been a guest. And the door is always open for you to come back to promote your next big thing or just to shoot the shit.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Word. Okay, we are clear.
Hello, everybody. This is Hoppy. What's up, everybody? I'm over here cooking dinner with hooks, rubs, and spices. B-Rob turned me on to this stuff, and I tell you what, it's great. It's a homemade blend of the finest ingredients sourced from Texas gardens, farmers, and markets. And it's some good shit. I tell you what, try the smoke and sweetness, or you can try Hoppy's favorite, the Mad Cow, which is a nice peppery slap in the face. One taste, and you'll be hooked. Hooks, rubs, and spices.